I'm taken aback at the idea of indicting a former president of the United States. At a time when there's a crime wave in New York City, that the fact that the Manhattan DA thinks that indicting President Trump is his top priority, I think, just tells you everything you need to know about the radical left in this country. It just feels like a politically charged prosecution here. And I, for my part, just feel like it's just not what the American people want to see.
He's calling on people to protest, to come out and protest, take our nation back. We know what happened the last time he said that.
Well, John, the American people have a constitutional right to peaceably assemble.
Absolutely, but to have a former president calling on people to protest a justice proceeding.
The frustration the American people feel about what they sense as a two-tiered justice system in this country, I think is well-founded. But I believe that people understand that if they give voice to this, if this occurs on Tuesday, that they need to do so peacefully and in a lawful manner. That the violence that occurred on January 6th, the violence that occurred in cities throughout this country in the summer of 2020 was a disgrace. The American people won't tolerate it, and those that engage in that kind of violence should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
This is another case of Donald Trump just trying to advance the interests of Donald Trump, not of the rest of the nation. Let's be clear about what's going on here. No one is above the law. Not even the former president of the United States. And if there has been an investigation, and that investigation should be allowed to go forward appropriately, if it's time to bring indictments, then they'll bring indictments. That's how our legal system works. Protests are there's no reason to protest this. This is the law operating as it should, without fear or favor for anyone.
I was there that day on January 6th in the Senate chamber, but the president's supporters, they have First Amendment rights, and they should be able to exercise those peacefully. I think it's going to be important for law enforcement to pay attention to protests and make sure it doesn't rise to the level of violence.
Let me make it clear, there's a difference between the former president and what he did on January 6th as the president of the United States and his call for support at the Capitol versus an individual person today asking people to show up to protest if he is indicted, and recognizing that I'm assuming that you're talking about the possibility of an indictment, which has not yet
we have no idea
happened. Right. And second of all, we don't know what the indictments would be. So we're kind of getting into some grounds in which we're making some assumptions that we don't have a whole lot of facts on yet. Well, he made the assumption. It might be better to ask those same questions later on.
I understand that. Are you at all concerned, though, that this only adds to distrust? You know, it sort of almost he's fomenting the distrust.
I don't know if he's fomenting distrust or not, but clearly we don't know whether or not this is actually going to happen. We don't know whether or not there's actually going to be an indictment. But most certainly, you don't want to have any threats towards the implementation or the attempt to implement justice. And that's something that you always have to take seriously, whether it's from an individual person or a former president of the United States.